A high school girl in Norman, Oklahoma recorded her teacher giving the class a rather, unconventional lesson. Let's take a look.
To be white is to be racist. Period.
He went on to say,
Am I racist? And I say, yeah. I don't want to be. It's not like I choose to be racist. But do I do things because of the way I was raised?
and now, how did he come by these opinions?
The teacher was sharing a perspective that had been shared at a university.
Of course, this teacher came up through the same university system where it's okay for a black woman to stand up and say, science is a lie and black magic is real.
Science as a whole is a product of Western modernity, and the whole thing should be scratched off. Especially, there's a place in KZN, and they believe that through the magic, the black magic, you call it black magic, they call it witchcraft, others, that you are able to send a lightning to strike someone. So can you explain that scientifically? Because it is something that happens every...
But when a white man interrupts her, just to let her know that she's wrong, he's chastised for it.
I need to address you directly. When we started this, we agreed on certain house rules. Okay. And by you doing that, you're disrespecting the sacredness of the space.
The position that science is a lie deserves no respect whatsoever, and the guy who declared this was chastised by the moderator and socially coerced into giving an apology.
Very sorry to the panel.
Okay, and you agree to abide by the rules of the space. Thank you. Please.
This is not because he was disruptive, but only because he dared argue against a black woman. It's no wonder that an environment like that would produce a self-loathing white man who will stand up before a class of people he's in charge of educating and tell them, you should be ashamed if your skin is this color. People whose skin is this color are wicked. And look, my skin is this color too, and I still know that people like us are just bad and wrong. Our ancestors did awful things, and the onus is now on us, on our entire race, to make amends for what our ancestors did. Listen, folks, every human being on this planet has in their bloodline every deplorable and evil human trait. You take your family tree back far enough and you are related to murderers and rapists and child molesters and genocidal lunatics and slavers and every other sort of evil person you can think of. This is true of every person, regardless of where they're born or what their skin color is or what their last name is. Humanity has about a quarter of a million-year history. And in that time, your relatives got up to some fucking freaky shit that would make you puke. If we've all got to take personal responsibility for anything our ancestors have done, then this entire species fucking deserves to die. Giant Meteor 2016. It's a well-known fact that Africans used to sell captives from other tribes to white slavers. So do modern-day blacks have to answer for that? Because I'm sure there were times when the slaver became the slave. Hell, there were black slave owners of black slaves in America. That's a less well-known fact, but it's totally true. So where's the collective guilt of black people for their part in the messy goings-on of the human race? The way you hear some people talk, like this teacher we're discussing, for example, white people are the root of all evil on this planet. And without us around to fuck things up, all the races of the earth would just live together in peace and harmony, singing Kumbaya fucking ah. This is a bullshit worldview. Every evil that human beings are capable of is happening all over the world right now. So this idea that white people are this uniquely deplorable race and we above all others need to apologize, that notion is bullshit. Every race on earth played the violent conquest and subjugation game. But we're supposed to apologize because we were the best at it? No, sorry, not happening. It's like being born as a product of rape. You know, what your father did was wrong, and while you undeniably benefited from it by getting to exist, you're in no way liable for what he did. His rape isn't your crime, it was his. The sins of the parent should never fall upon the child, even if the child benefited from those sins. So, what is it that gets a man whose job it is to teach to instead just spew racist fucking rhetoric against his own race. And not as an opinion, but as a fact. He just says, you know, oh yeah, all white people are evil, all white people are racist. Well, I typed all white people are racist into Google, and one of the top results was an article from the liberal site Alternet.com called, "Yes, all white people are racists. Now let's do something about it." Now this article is more than a year old, but to me, it's even more outrageous than what the teacher from this recent video said. The teacher was speaking extemporaneously, so you can at least give him a little bit of a benefit of the doubt of like, well, maybe he didn't explain his ideas the best way. You can give him a little leeway. Not much, but a little. But with this article, someone actually sat down and typed this shit out. Like, yep, white people are evil. And they're like, yep, that sounds fair. So let's take a deeper look at this article and find out why all white people are supposedly racist. Well, it turns out the reason white people are such evil, rotten scumbags is that we have this characteristic known as implicit bias. According to the Stanford Dictionary of Philosophy,
implicit bias is a term of art referring to relatively unconscious and relatively automatic features of prejudice, judgmental, and social behavior. While psychologists in the field of implicit social recognition study implicit attitudes toward consumer products, self-esteem, food, alcohol, political views, and more, the most striking and well-known research has focused on implicit attitudes towards members of socially stigmatized groups, such as African Americans, women, and the LGBT community.
According to the Alternet article about how all white people are racist,
the most comprehensive study of implicit bias to date comes from Project Implicit, a non-profit organization founded by researchers from Harvard, the University of Washington, and the University of Virginia in 1998. Project Implicit uses a novel technique to test hidden biases we hold towards certain demographics, employing short online tests that brings the results of their findings right into your living room. I highly recommend you take their test here.
Well, all right. I'm going to go ahead and take the test. Let's see how I do. Well, I sat there for what felt like an hour playing the most boring game in all of history, just to see how I feel about white people versus black people, even though I already knew how I felt. This is the test that was just described by Alternet as the most comprehensive study on implicit bias. And what are my results? Your data suggests no automatic preference between black people and white people. Oh, snap. So to all you SJWs out there who call me a racist, I now have a test developed by Harvard to detect implicit bias, which has deemed me 100% free of implicit racial bias when it comes to black people. I have no preference between white people and black people whatsoever. To me, they're both equally uninteresting and not worth my time. There are no racist misanthropes, it turns out. So I wonder, will SJWs now say that the test is invalid? Will they say that I tricked the test somehow? Will they admit that the concept of implicit bias is bullshit? Or will they admit, and this is the least likely option of all, that I'm not racist? Will Steve Shives and Martin Hughes be releasing their apology to me soon? I won't hold my breath for it. The Alternet article goes on to say,
other recent research using markedly different methods has uncovered similarly disturbing patterns in our private, often subconscious thoughts. Indeed, more than anything else, a wide range of recent studies seem to show that while white Americans are getting better at not using certain language or voicing certain opinions, deep currents of racism remain. For example, a recent study showed that people have a considerably higher opinion of job applicants who call themselves African American rather than black.
All right, so let's say that this is true. What are you going to do about it? You're going to reach into the subconscious minds of people and scrub out all the naughty bits? I mean, come on, get real. Even if that were possible, it would be invasive. Your belief that you're somehow entitled to control the deepest innermost thoughts of your fellow man is the essence of totalitarianism. Now, I won't torture you guys with the rest of this article, but I will tell you how it ends.
After all, wouldn't it be better to live in a world where white people made a constant, concerted effort to overcome implicit racism, particularly when it lurks within themselves?
Well, maybe it lurks in you, but according to the test you sent me to, it doesn't work on me. I have no racial bias whatsoever. Do you want to know how I did that, by the way? I did it by not giving a fuck about race at all. Don't get me wrong, I'll discuss it as a political issue all day long, but when it comes to my daily life, I make no significant distinction between white people and black people. I judge people as individuals. If you want to end racism, stop with the race-baiting articles. Stop with the propaganda about how white people are evil. Just treat everyone with the same standard and decide on a case-by-case basis which people are worth a shit in your eyes. Don't even make race a factor. That's how you pass the implicit bias test. That's how you maintain objectivity. Now, I'll be speaking more on implicit bias in later videos. My criticisms of the concept are really only just beginning, but I feel like I've kept you guys long enough for today, so I'm going to let you go. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. I truly appreciate the support. You can also support my work on Patreon, and for my current patrons, the perks will be getting fulfilled next week, so stay tuned. I'd also ask that you check out my podcast, The Drunken Peasants, which is linked to in my description. It's a show where me and my friends make fun of news and the internet. It happens pretty much every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday night. Go check out that channel and subscribe if you like what you see. I'm the Amazing Atheist. Peace the fuck out!